Today is a DoorDash day, which is pretty normal for my day off. Looks like our order is ready and we are gonna go deliver it. Grab our bags. Now that's complete. Now I am on to do a shop order. I know we come here a lot regularly, but this is not for me. This is for a customer. Alright, we shopped our items. We have all of them here. And now we're going to go to checkout and we are going to deliver the items. Now that's complete. This is a much requested video. I got asked how many deliveries have I done in the last however long I've been doing gig working. Is it worth it? Is it profitable? Is this something that I feel like anyone can do? And I do have all your answers, and I'm going to be super honest. Now, I've made a list because this list here is going to tell me all of the things over my gig working history. Now, I will say that I didn't start with DoorDash. I started with Instacart and I moved my way along. Now, I have also been working hourly jobs in between these times. You guys have seen me do a lot of shifting if you have been on this channel for quite some time now. So that means that I have sometimes done this full-time and sometimes I did not. There was a period of time where I did this full-time and this was my only means of income. So if you are a person that has a decently clean driving record, you have a vehicle, or maybe you're looking to figure out how to write off some of your expenses with your car, this might be your ticket. It might be your ticket because you could write off your mileage and many other things, car maintenance, tires, at least a percentage of those things. Phone bill, insurance, the list can go on and on. However, I'm not a tax professional, so I can tell you it is a 1099 job, meaning that you are going to be considered a self-employed contractor. So you don't own the business, you are contracted from the business, but you are paying your taxes yourself. So at fault of my own, I have also made my fair share of stashing my money away for tax season problems, especially the very first year that I was a 1099 earner. I will say this as well, I am pretty used to it now that I have been doing it for a very long time. So I guess before I get into the list, I need to disclose I have been driving for the last 6 years, doing DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, Spark, Instacart, and all the different things. Now, I do have other apps that I have never actually done anything with. Poplin is a laundry service app. I have never actually utilized them. I am signed up for them. I never once got a laundry service order. I also have Rover, but I have never actually used that one either. And I've been on that app for a while now, so I don't know. I don't do a lot of the other very small gig working apps just because these main ones have made me thousands of dollars. Okay, so I will also say this. I didn't start with DoorDash. How I got into gig working was I started with Instacart. It was the pandemic. It was really rough to make extra money, even though I was working an hourly job and I was in management in fast food. I really, really wanted to give gig working a shot. We have a mutual friend, my husband and I, who started doing Instacart because they were going to college, had little kids, and there was no means for them to find proper daycare and all the things. So the one thing that really hit it off for me is the fact that I could bring my children along with me while doing said apps. Now, some of them you obviously should not, and I really highly suggest you do not take your children with you, because some of these you're not going to be approved to do that. Whether it's something that you feel morally you can do or not, bringing your kids along with you to work, that's up to you. Your kids are going to do a lot of getting in and out of the car. Okay, so I started with Instacart back in the pandemic days. Probably mid-pandemic was when I started to get my toes wet into this type of business. And because of that friend, I was able to get on to Instacart within, I believe, 90 days, because there was a wait list. So mind you, there could be a wait list for some of these apps as well. I did a total of 1,803 deliveries, doing grocery shop, grocery pickup, and dropping it off at people's stores. Now, mind you, I've done big grocery shops at Costco. I've done catering events. I've done tons and tons of weddings, because we do live in a destination type area, tourist area for weddings. Okay, so Instacart was really where I got started. I would say if you're not going to want to walk around the store for hours on end, pushing a cart, picking out items, scanning things into your phone, if you're not going to be a detail-oriented person, I don't suggest Instacart for you. It is a very tough game, and when you're grocery shopping for people, they're very particular. I know. So Instacart was very popular. Obviously, people weren't going anywhere, pandemic times, and then it started dissipating in my area. Now, your area might look different, but I do live in a small area in Oregon, and honestly, my market can suck, at least for stuff like that, because people want to get out. They want to go outside. They want to go grocery shopping on their own. If they're going to be super picky, they don't want you shopping for them. Lots of organic, very specific dietary things. We have a large population of gluten-free, vegan, dairy-free, vegetarian folks. So I did notice that a lot on Instacart when I was shopping. Also doing large Costco orders. Now, the one thing that I can't necessarily get on board with, because if you're not going to use it for yourself, if you're only using it for the app, you might not want to do this, but you can shop at Costco for your customers, but you have to pay for that Costco membership. So there is that. I then went on to DoorDash because at the time a family member was doing DoorDash and they had been doing Postmates. Postmates was going to be no longer. So it took me a really long time to get on to DoorDash, just because of anxiety. There was no wait. I got really frustrated with the fact that Instacart was burning out in my area and in my market, and I was then working fast food management, and I was struggling to afford my very high rent. A lot of you guys remember those times. If you have been here long enough on this channel, you remember those times. I was paying very high rent. I don't even know really what gave me the anxiety, because I had already been driving around doing Instacart. I'm like, why are you so anxious, Amanda? For nothing. So on a lunch break, I signed up for DoorDash, and I will never forget when the screen popped up. It said that I could dash now. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? Did I do something wrong? I clocked back in for my shift. My then boss told me that there was a DoorDasher waiting at the drive-thru window. Our lobby had still been closed from the pandemic. This was when the mask mandate had just kind of like, I mean, it was still going, but people weren't following it as closely. So I had my mask on. I had the headset on, and I remember hanging halfway out the drive-thru window out of just sheer, pure anxiety. And I say, hey guy, I know you're picking up a DoorDash order, but can you tell me, did I do this wrong or not? And I pull my phone out of my pocket and I show him the app where it says Dash Now. He's like, you're golden. You're good to go, girl. Hit the button and started taking deliveries. So that evening, I started doing DoorDash. Now, as time went on, it was really hard for me to find childcare. Not only was it hard to find childcare, but it was hard to find childcare for an autistic child. We were going through some family changes, life changes, financial changes, and I had yet to really start doing YouTube. I was doing the cash stuffing, budgeting on my own terms and all the different things. And I just remember the absolute need to do DoorDash full time. Not only was I doing DoorDash in the evening time, but I was almost making more in those evenings than I was working my hourly job. So there have been times where I have done gig working and I have made a plentiful of money. I'm talking more than I had ever made in an entirety of a week now became a reality for me. So this continued on for quite some time. Now, I started the YouTube channel. I was only doing DoorDash, Instacart. I started doing Uber Eats, which at the time I did not know that Walmart was doing such high paying grocery pickup orders, because Spark was not really a thing, and at least not in my area. And I was scared to take the Walmart orders, but I eventually started taking them because they were $35, $40 a delivery. I mean, this was in the height of the DoorDash, the Instacart, the Uber Eats, all the different apps. So I will say that on DoorDash, I have done 14,844 deliveries in the last 5 years. Now, on Uber Eats, I have done a total of 6,991 deliveries. So that's a lot of deliveries. That's a lot of driving. And then I decided, because I had also experience in doing cab, I did cab for around 8 months during the first part of the pandemic. Because I was just really trying to find something that I wanted to do, something that I liked and enjoyed, and also made decent money. So I guess I was a little scared, because when I realized on Uber Eats that I was already approved to do Uber Drive because I have a clean driving record. I had basically at that time, pretty much new car. I was driving a 2020 Kia Sportage. And I'll get to that in a minute because you're probably going, where is the car? Where's the car? I started doing Uber. And then somebody was like, well, sign up for Lyft. I'm sitting at the airport with my airport badge from the inside of the airport. You have to pay for those. You have to pay for them. But it is a business expense. So I'm sitting at the airport waiting for Ubers, and they're like, why are you not on Lyft? So I sign up for Lyft. I have done 10,423 Uber Drive pickups. I almost just totally jacked that up by saying it wrong. Uber Drive pickups. This means that I have picked up 10,000 riders, over 10,000 riders, and dropped them off at their destination. 10,423. That's pretty good. Now, mind you, I'd already been doing Instacart and DoorDash and Uber Eats for a long time before I really started doing the Uber Drive part. Which, honestly, I shouldn't be biased, but I think that that's my favorite part because during that whole pandemic time, I had literally no one to talk to, besides if my husband decided to come with me and do some DoorDash. It was a very lonely time, and so when I started picking up people with my mask on and all the different things, I was super ecstatic. I was beyond ecstatic. On Lyft, because Lyft is not very popular in my market, it's mostly, I think it's a city thing. Let me know if you do Lyft. Do you think it's a city thing, or do you think it's a East Coast thing? I don't know. I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Oregon. So I have done a measly 2,801 pickup and drop-offs with Lyft. But I also started Spark. Now, Spark had quite, I want to say they had quite a long wait for drivers to get on their app. I think that it was like 6 to 9 months. When Spark first launched, they got a bunch of people that had already signed up and been on the waiting list. You know, one of those moments where it's not in your area, but it could be coming to you. So you could sign up and be on a wait list. So they picked those folks first. So it took me like 6-7 months to get on Spark. Now, Spark has been hit or miss. I think Jordan, my husband, has had more success on Spark than I have. I have done 492 deliveries on Spark. So, food and grocery deliveries, I have done a total altogether, food and grocery, because they don't really split them up. They don't really split them up. They just consider grocery food delivery. I have done 24,130 deliveries. 24,130 deliveries in the last 6 years. And then on rideshare, I have done 13,224 deliveries. 13,224 riders entered and left my vehicle. That's a lot. That's a lot. This is a lot. That's crazy to me. After going on all the apps, I realized that I have made thousands upon thousands of dollars doing gig working. This was my means of survival. I don't have a whole lot to show for it other than my bills were paid, we were fed, and we were able to buy this 1966 single wide in a mobile home park. So all in all, I guess I do have something to show for it because we have this house. Now, the one thing that I will say is the downfall about driving for a living and relying on this. Actually, there's more than one, but we'll talk about the big one. The big kahuna, the big mama. If you do not have a reliable car and your car is junk, it's gonna die. It's gonna go to car heaven, because there's a lot of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of driving that happens when you do this job. Now, with thousands upon thousands of driving, you have a higher chance, especially if you live in an area that's mountain-like, mountain town, and mountain area, mountain towns, lots of towns in this area, and you're dealing with a wide variety of stupid drivers, people not paying attention, people from out of state because they're traveling here. But not only that, you're dealing with fog, very, very thick fog, ice, snow, and, of course, hot weather. I know, you're probably going, hot weather, that doesn't mean nothing to me. It puts a toll on your vehicle. So, back in December of 2024, my husband and I were doing some much anticipated Christmas shopping, looking for an Xbox for my youngest son, when we were in an accident that was luckily not physically life-threatening, meaning that we were in an accident. Trailer and car collided, and my 2020 Kia Sportage was totaled. Now, I will say we were lucky, full coverage insurance, and all the bells and whistles. So we were able to get a car rental. Car was evaluated, was totaled out within literally like days of its evaluation. And then we also were fairly lucky because with full coverage insurance, that meant that they were able to cover the remainder of the loan on the vehicle. So I had a fairly hefty car payment. I was paying $700 a month to try to pay off the car sooner. Now, my actual car payment was like $613 or $614, which is high for a low income wage earner. But my income looked a lot different, and you can tell the numbers looked a lot different then. Now, I will say I cannot do Uber and Lyft with my very old 2001 Chevy Impala. Unfortunately, we don't make enough to have a car loan. Not only that, I don't see it feasible with our income. The other thing that I wanted to talk about as well that people don't think of that's detrimental is the fact that if this is your only income, Bookie, this paper, this is all you got. They don't give loans to people who drive for a living. You crazy. They don't do that. They don't do it. They won't do it literally anywhere. So, and if you find somebody, you're lucky. You're lucky because you are a liability on the road. You are now considered a business, and they'll make you pay for commercial insurance. That's even if you can get approved. But most times out of 10, I was told by Honda, Toyota, Kia, which Kia is the, if you're trying to get a car loan, I don't suggest it. Please stay away, far away, but Kia is easy to get a loan from. They'll find you somebody. They'll find you somebody. You may not like the price, but they'll find you somebody. Used car dealerships, Jeep, Ram, Dodge, they were all like, hard no, hard pass, not gonna happen. I will say I cannot rely on this full time anymore. The economy has done a giant shift since the pandemic. Things were really looking pretty golden for quite some time, and then things started slowing down, and then there was a spurt of good again, and then now it's kind of dissipating into the distance. Now, your market may look different than mine. Your market may look better, but mine is not, unfortunately. I full on use this as a side hustle now. I have to work an hourly job to have the consistency in income. Now, in a different world and different time, I could potentially move to a giant city where maybe I have to use all of these apps, all of them, but I could make a living. I need to drink some coffee. My brain says, please give me caffeine, please. But anyway, so all in all, the future hope is that one day I will get a vehicle. Whether that day is far off into the distance, like a little sparkle of hope that I will get a car where I can at least do the Uber, Lyft stuff. I do DoorDash currently. I have kind of let Uber Eats go for the moment because it's asking me to put in a newer car, which if you're dealing with the same situation or very similar situation, you might want to think twice before you before you get rid of the Uber Drive part of the app, because there is a long wait and you may not get it again. So I've kind of just put Uber Eats to the side, so I'm doing DoorDash, Instacart, and Spark mostly as a side hustle. I will say my husband did do gig working as well, but he is unable to. Now that the accident, because he was the driver in the accident, and both were considered at fault, he cannot, because he had a major at-fault accident, do any more gig working as of the end of August. So that's unfortunate as well. So mind you, it's not perfect, but I've made thousands of dollars doing this. I still use it as a little crutch when I need some extra money. My paycheck wasn't plentiful. My $14-15 an hour in the state of Oregon with 28% tax on my income, which, yes, we don't have to pay taxes on other things, but my income sure gets slapped in the face. It helps. It all helps. So I'm gonna go drink my coffee now. It's probably cold and I need to microwave it, but I'll see you guys in the next one. But as always, you can only do what you can with what you got, because it's all you have to work with, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys!